That's Friday, April the 13th, 2018. We officially here on Third Down. Welcome to Third Down. I'm your host, T. Wayne the Don. A lot of breaking stuff has happened, but today's episode is all about the NBA playoffs. Yes, sir. We're going to do it big. The Pels did make it in. They made it in for the second time as the Pelicans. I want to say the seventh time as the franchise of the New Orleans franchise. They made it back years ago when they was in the Eastern Conference. Remember that? Then they made it with the Chris Paul days. And this is the second time in Pelican history that the Pelicans are in the playoffs. First time ever that the Pelicans are going to take on the Portland Trail Blazers in the playoffs. This should be interesting. Two mid-card teams that's trying to get to the second round. Probably the best matchup for the team. They're going to have a chance. The kick tip-off tomorrow night at 9:30. We're going to break down all of the playoffs. I think this is going to probably be the best playoff card I think that the NBA has gotten right in a long time. I think on both sides, to say that they got more 50-win teams in the Eastern Conference is very, very exciting. I think the East is going to be more exciting than the West to a degree. Especially depends when you look at all matchups means something. I think Milwaukee got something to prove to play the Boston Celtics because they've been really went out on the season with a sour note, trying to regain themselves and try to go forward for next season. I think that this playoff race is going to be one of the best in a long time. But other than that, let's get to the breaking news that has happened this afternoon. Jerry Jones and Dez Bryant had a meeting this morning, and they decided to separate their ways. The 8-year receiver who came out of Oklahoma State was now officially a free agent. Dez Bryant would no longer be with the Cowboys. He would not be a Cowboy next year for the 2018-2019 season. What does that mean for the Cowboys? I think really there's two sides to both stories when I really sit back and look at it. I think to a degree it was a move to really set up the future. I think it wasn't a move to be mean to Dez. I think it was a move that Jerry knew he had to do. Now, why I say this? I say because I really believe in my heart that Dez Bryant was still connected with Tony Romo, and he still wanted Romo to be the quarterback. Never really got up to speed with Dak Prescott himself. Almost to a degree could be a similar distractions to my circumstances. I think to a degree, I think that Dak and Dez was never on the same page. Now, here's the problem. You look at the roster from last year before you added Hurts and DeAnthony Thompson. Your leading receiver, your guy would be Terrence Williams, and he didn't catch one touchdown pass from you last season. So that's right now your number one guy on the roster. Now, I doubt if I really would put all my trust in Terrence Williams. He's a solid number 2, number 3 guy. He's not no number 1 guy. I'm sorry. But with Hurts being there and Thompson, and then I think they should look at drafting a receiver at that spot, especially if Calvin really is there and he's there on the board. I think you should definitely take him at that. I think they're at the 19th spot in the draft. Won't hurt nothing. I think he will bring an explosiveness to that offense. I think he's a raw talent. I think he'll get better, working with Prescott. But the pressure is on Dak Prescott now because now this is what the move ultimately really showed out to be. You got to put the right players around your quarterback to make them comfortable. And I think that's what Jerry Jones realized, that I still got a lot of personnel of Tony Romo, and I got to make this guy as comfortable as I can to give him a chance to succeed, to win games, to win in our division. Because the division is mad hard. The NBA, the Super Bowl champs are in the NFC East. You know what I'm saying? Everybody in that division, that's the most prestigious division in football for the only reason why, because everybody in that division has a world title. The Giants, the Redskins, the Eagles, and the Dallas Cowboys all have world titles. There's no other division in football that even comes close to at least having all 4 teams having a world title. So I think that's pretty dope. So, for that, give them a shout out for that. The NFC East really has changed their ways over the years. So let's give a shout out to that. But I think for Jerry Jones sat back and realized that we got a hard schedule. We got to play the NFC South this year. 3 out of 4 teams from them had made the playoffs last season. We gotta go through somebody in the AFC. I don't really know their schedule or who they have to play. I'll figure all that out next week. I gotta make this guy as comfortable as possible when it's time to throw the football. I cannot let him go through these slumps like he did when we lost Elliott and nobody else helping him out. There was some times where Dez Bryant did not help him out. At the end of the year, the Seattle game didn't help him out. The Charger game for Thanksgiving didn't really help him out. The Atlanta game didn't really help him out. To a degree, I understand. You can't pay about 12. He like 16.5. I think it's like 12.5. You can't pay all that over $10 million to say you're only getting 830 yards and 6 touchdowns on the year. That's not enough. He had 3 straight seasons of 1,000 yards, and now all of a sudden, his last couple of years been underplayed. Now I can understand the first year when Prescott was trying to find his way, but I think to a degree they should have been close to 1,000 this past year. But I know there was a lot of distractions when it came to the NFL with the politics, and then Ezekiel Elliott with his politic problems, and he was out. He missed a significant time from the Cowboys this past year. But at the end of the day, I think the connection should have been there. But to Dak Prescott's advantage, the distractions are now gone. Now he can really focus on what he wants to focus on, playing the game of football. There's no more distractions. Now, Jerry Jones is truly putting the keys in your hands. He is erasing all of Tony Romo's people to really start putting the guys that's going to make you comfortable in situations, in third down situation, in the 2-minute situation. When it's fourth and forever, and you need to get a first down to keep the drive going, that might be a playoff spot on the line. Jerry Jones he made a business decision to get rid of Dez Bryant this morning. It was unfortunate for Dez because I think Dez wanted to finish his career as a Cowboy. He's the all-time leader in touchdown receptions for the Dallas Cowboys. It is unfortunate, but it's a new chapter, new beginning for both parties. Because let's be honest with you, the next man that's probably going to be out of there, probably of retirement, I think this is going to probably be Jason Witten's last year. Then they got to fill that position. Whole Cowboy team from Tony Romo about 3 years ago, the team that went 13-3 and went in the playoffs under Tony Romo regime is pretty much gone. DeMarco Murray kicked it off first because he wanted to get paid. So he's been gone for years. Then you look back, now you got Tony Romo who was cut about a year or 2 ago, due to the fact they moved on to Dak Prescott. So yes, Dez Bryant shouldn't be upset like he is. He is taking it kind of hard, which I understand because that's the place he wants to be. But Dez Bryant should understand that he cut Tony. And Tony probably, when you think about Staubach and Troy Aikman, is right in that same company of names of quarterbacks. He cut Tony. So why would he cut me when I'm not doing the same type of production that I should on the football field every Sunday or every Thursday or wherever we play? He cut me. I didn't make the cut. But that puts the pressure on Dak Prescott because if Prescott don't deliver and have another season slump and put the Cowboys about 9-7, 8-8, 7-9, I think people are going to start saying, you need to find a quarterback. Find somebody that's really going to get the job done. Because the excuses off the tables now, to my opinion. I think now all he has to do, he got to go out there and perform. Trust his team. Trust his offense. He's the leader of that offense. It's him and Ezekiel Elliott's football team when it comes down to the offensive side of the ball. Trust the process. Really, trust your process. Trust your calls. Trust your coverage. Trust what you read out there, Don't try to force things. I think now that he don't have to hear Dez complain and cry, have these sideline outbursts, get in the faces of coaches, be upset with the media. I think since all that's going, that distraction is going, I think you're going to see a freer Dak Prescott. I think you're going to see his numbers increase a little bit. I expect him to have high 20 touchdowns, maybe about early teens of interceptions, maybe even lower than that, maybe about 11 or 12, but maybe 29, 30 touchdowns next year. Be free, because I think once you get a healthy Ezekiel Elliott back, maybe about 25 touchdowns, 26 touchdowns. I'll give him 26 because Ezekiel Elliott's going to get his. You start putting that all together, I think that he has a legitimate good chance to improve and get the Cowboys about 11 wins and 5 losses on the season. It's going to be hard because here's some places I kind of thought that Dez Bryant can go next. My first places would be San Francisco. I like him going to San Francisco. Hey, San Francisco looking for guys like him. Look at Richard Sherman. He's over there. He go play with Jimmy G. You ain't no telling what San Francisco else gonna get in the draft to put on the offensive side. That'll be a good starting place for Jimmy G. Now, granted, they not no Super Bowl contending team, but I think they got enough juice to potentially be close to a wild card team if they stay healthy. John Lynch is doing a heck of a job over there. Now, granted, I know the Reuben Foster situation. I want to give New Orleans this one. Thank God we ain't got Reuben Foster. Remember, he was supposed to be a Saint last year, but the 49ers called him first. All of a sudden, they took him away from us by one pick. Then we wound up getting Ryan Ramczyk. So once again, for the New Orleans Saints, God is so good. God working in a mysterious way. He knows what we need and what we don't need sometimes. Reuben Foster with all this trouble right now, almost facing 11 years if this get trialed and charged against him. So God knew we didn't need that at a time when we trying to rebuild and try to get back to the Super Bowl. So we're going to move on from that one. But still, John Lynch is doing a heck of a job. I think he'll be a perfect person to go play at San Francisco. I also said Seattle. I think Seattle, who lost Jimmy Graham, they got Doug Baldwin. I really don't find him truly elite of elite, but he's very solid. They lost another receiver this past all season. I can't really think of the guy's name, but I think Seattle will be a good place. They like attitude guys over there. And having them on that offensive side of the ball will probably help Russell Wilson a little bit. Seattle will be a good place for him. Another place I kind of thought about would be, my buddy said Baltimore. I think Baltimore will be a good place. They really haven't had a solid receiver since Anquan Bolden left years ago. So that'll be a good place for him. I read Carolina, really, they got Devin Funchess and who else? They can use somebody else big on the outside with Cam Newton. Buffalo's another place. Don't really have a quarterback right now, but they can use a receiver to help a guy. You have two big receivers between Kelvin Benjamin and Dez Bryant. That's real nice to a degree. Really, really nice. And my last place, and I think that this can be more said than done, I would like him to go here, would be the Washington Redskins, because the Redskins got Alex Smith, because remember with the trade, Smith is now not the head coach. Now he's the starting quarterback for the Redskins due to Pat Mahomes now being the starting quarterback in Kansas City. I would have said Kansas City if they didn't have Sammy Watkins, but the Washington Redskins, I think maybe he could do something similar to what Richard Sherman did if he thinks about it. Washington plays the Cowboys twice a year. If he want to burn them, burn them. You know what I'm saying? To the degree, stay in the division and burn them. Washington would actually be a good place for him to keep his career going, play well with Alex Smith, a veteran quarterback, a guy who's proven himself in this league. He's really had a lot of success on the last 5 years. So I would love to see him go to Washington if that will happen, if he can make a deal with the Redskins. But all in all, this deal really did, it wasn't breaking news. The writing was on the wall. I think, reports said that Jerry Jones even mentioned about restructuring the contract. He was just so adamant he was ready to be like, he got to move on from Dez Bryant. It's unfortunate because yes, indeed, he is probably one of the greatest receivers to play for the Cowboys of all time. And that's saying something because they got a lot of good ones that's played for him. But he has done his part. He will no longer be a Dallas Cowboy member going forward. So what do y'all think going to happen to Dez Bryant? If you got any feedback, get at me. We can talk about it. And go forward about the history or what you think Dez going to go for next season. So let's move on. Let's get to our real subject. That was just a side subject because it happened early this morning. NBA playoffs is here. That means the season almost over, unfortunately, but the playoffs is here, and we're going to start off tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Warriors, Spurs will tip it off. First, we'll start the playoffs off. Then here come the Wizards and the Raptors. 76ers, Heat, and Trailblazers and Pelicans will close tomorrow night. Then we're going to just jump to Sunday. We're going to tip off at 12 o'clock on TNT. Celtics and Bucks. Cavaliers and Pacers tomorrow at 2:30. Thunders and Jazz at 5:30. And Rockets and Timberwolves will close out the opening weekend of the playoffs. So let's go back to the Saturday match. So let's start with the Warriors and Spurs. The Warriors have been thumped the last couple of games they played.